All right, up next we have a presentation by Paula Magna Hisdal, and he's going to give a presentation on, he's the development business manager for what is it? Connector Subsea Solutions. Can we please give him a round of applause?
Okay, yeah. Okay, hello everybody. So, yeah, I'm from Connector Subsea Solutions, and this presentation I want to show some of the more challenging deep water repair operations that we are doing more or less around the world. We are quite a niche company, so I just have this introductory slide. We are based in Norway, head office in Norway, but we are also working, I would say, globally and in most international markets. And West Africa is a key market for us. Today we are working in Nigeria and Angola, but we also see opportunity elsewhere, obviously, and having a lot of deep water, aging assets, and also new pipelines coming, we do consider that will be a key market for us over the coming years as well. And then this is about pipeline repairs, and I'm not going to go into detail on why there's a requirement for pipeline repairs, but there's many reasons obviously why pipelines are failing, but one of the new issues that we see now is sabotage. So just recently in Europe, over the last 2 years, there's been 2 examples of sabotage, both the Nord Stream in 22 and last year the Baltic Pipe. And as Jan Olav Berge, the head of pipeline repairs in Equinor, said, this is a game changer. You need much more contingency to be able to repair pipelines quickly when you have this added factor that seems to makes very high value important pipelines vulnerable. So that's part of the reason why it's important to have pipeline repair capability available when things like this happen. And there are different types of repairs that can be done. What I will show here in this presentation is the kind of challenging repairs where you have a larger section that needs to be replaced, and you actually cut and replace the section. If there's a small damage, doing the repair using clamps that can close the damage is possible. And that's more common, I would say, but of course that has its limits on what kind of damages that can actually fix. So the advantage of having the cut and replace capability is really that you can repair longer lengths of pipelines and typically, which means larger damages typically, and also for life extension. We've been working a lot on life extension in West Africa. This allows us to bypass larger section of aging and maybe corrosion affected pipe. Also, what's interesting with this capability is that we can remove a section and then we can install capability for tie-in or tie-back, so we can use this to tie back new fields into existing pipeline infrastructure, even when there's just a bare pipe or there's no preparation for that in advance. And another example, which I'll show some slides from, or in my case study that we did, is to install a subsea safety isolation valve. So that obviously provides more safety for the operation and prevents hydrocarbons from leaking in an accident. And also this is an excellent way, I would say, to maximize the subsea assets, to use them for a longer time and to use them for nearby fields as well. And the reason I'm focusing on this in this presentation is that this has been the core focus for one of the core focus for connector subsea solutions, and particularly our more grip connectors, for the last 35 years and and we are very proud to be involved, I would say, in 90% of all of these type of operations that's being performed in deep water in particular. And we are the only one who done, or we have the world first to do this, and we are the one who done 90% of them, and we are the first who also have done riser repairs in deep water. So that is one of the case studies that I will go through. And that's this one. So there's quite a few slides. It's quite a challenging operation, so I will need to do it quite quickly. But this is the Greater Plutonio FPSO outside of Angola, offshore Angola, and during the installation of the hybrid riser tower, which you can see, this is not working. Which you can see there, two of the gas lift risers were damaged. So today they needed the gas lift to continue production at a reasonable pace. So they looked at two alternatives: repair the two gas lift risers at 1250 meters or install new risers. And we presented a concept which they bought into, and which was obviously significantly cheaper than installing the new risers, gas lift risers. So this shows the concept. The damage was at the base there, as you can see on the left side, and the concept is that was for us to go in over the damage, cut the pipe, install the more grip connectors, attach it to a flexible bypass, and then tie that into the gas lift module at the bottom of the riser tower. And it also consisted of another stage where we needed to attach, once the repair had been performed, we need to fix it back into the riser tower to avoid transfer of dynamic loads into the connectors, because that could lead potentially to fatigue over time. So that was also a part of the operation. So the first part, sorry, sir. Okay, I'll continue. So the first part of the operation was to fix it back into the riser tower. And on the left, you can see there is the yellow line that you see the cross section. The yellow pipeline is the water injection riser, which we needed to fix the two gas lift risers that we're going to repair back onto. And from the cross section, you can see that there isn't much space behind the yellow water injection riser. So we needed to create working space around that injection riser. We needed to remove the coating on it, and then that would allow us to fix a clamp onto it, which again could be fixed onto this install restraint assembly, which you see is holding the risers in this picture. So first we created a milling tool to mill away the buoyancy around the water injection riser. So here you can see this was neutrally buoyant, came down in the basket, flown in by the ROV, powered and controlled through the ROV, and as you can see on the bottom right pictures, we have created a pocket around the water injection riser. That allowed us to install our coating removal tool. So this was a deepwater coating removal. That's a challenging operation. So that was installed in a similar fashion. And we had, after completing that operation, we had a bare pipe that is suitable for installation of a structural clamp, which was flown in a similar manner, installed through the ROV and tensioned and attached, and then finally the restraint assembly which is also consisting of a large part of buoyancy, made it easy for the ROV to dock into it, fly it in place, and install that onto the restraint assembly. So these operations then allowed us to have a fixture there that once we now start on the installation, we can fix the risers into this restraint assembly afterwards. So this is the next step was to do the cutting of the riser jacket out, cut it, remove the coating on the risers, install this hold anchoring point that is going to be used to hold all the installation tooling and the connector during installation. And then we needed to land the installation frame with the connector, align, install, and activate the connector, test it, and then finally retrieve all the installation tooling afterwards. So this is some slides from that. Again, we use our deepwater coating removal tool to remove the coating on the gas lift. Here you see from our testing of the anchor gripper unit. So this was obviously a very vital part of the operation because this is holding 7 tons and failure here would obviously also have very easily subsequent damages to nearby structures and pipelines. So this was installed using a lightweight installation tool flown in by the ROV, activated and released. And this allowed us to use our installation frame with the connector installed. And some of the challenges here is also described. As you can see, the riser was pointing outwards by about 4 degrees, and it's a fairly thin gas lift riser, 4-inch, and this we're going to land an assembly of 7 tons here, including the installation tool and the connector and the flexible that's attached to it. So obviously there needs to be do a lot of work to ensure that we did not overstress the riser when we install it, and also we needed to make sure that it was never attached to the riser at the same time as it was attached to the crane, because we didn't want to risk any drift off that could damage the riser. So that was a few of the things that needs to be considered designing this system. And also this riser has been jacked out of the riser tower, and you see there's a jack-out tool above it, so we also need to be able to go in underneath it. So here we see we were flying it in with having it in the crane, being controlled by the ROV to push it in over the anchor unit, drop down, and then we had the soft landing system. So once the crane was disconnected, this was slowly swinging underneath it without overstressing the pipe. And then we could fix it, rotate it, align it with the riser, and pull it up and the connector onto the riser. And on the right-hand side, you can see that's we are doing, actually, I guess that's retrieving the installation tool after completing the second one. You see the first connector's already been installed on the right-hand side. Here is from the SIT, just some pictures showing the test pipe, how we indents from the seals and from the grippers onto the 4-inch. And here is the way it is today. And I just spoke with Azula earlier this week, and they are very dependent on these 2 gas lift risers now, as they are continue producing on the Greater Plutonio field. I have another storyboard or case study, if you like, from installation of an SSIV, which we did in the Gulf of Mexico, fully remotely as well. So this is another example of how this cut and replace a section can be used. Here we have the SSIVs. This is showing in advance how we would like to, what we like to achieve or what we did achieve. I cannot point with this, so it's a little bit hard to see, but the purple pipeline there with the ring around, that was the existing pipeline. And then what we did was to install the red SSIV structure there in the middle, and that also gave a tie-in or tieback capability to a nearby field. So initial survey, finding the location for the installation of the SSIV, remove coating on both sides of the pipeline, lifting the pipeline with our pipeline lifting and handling frames, cutting, removing the section of the pipe where we're going to replace, and then we landed the SSIV pre-installed with the more grip connectors on either side. Obviously there are tolerances when you're landing this kind of large structure, so we did have some overlength on the spool, and we cut the pipelines once we landed it to fit. And then after we cut the pipeline, typically need to do pipe band preparation to make sure there are no burrs, and you have a nice and straight cut on the pipe afterwards. Centralize the pipeline back into this installation frame, and this centralizer helps us then to align. So now we have the pipeline lifting and handling frames to the left here, which is then manipulating the pipeline so that we aligned it with the spool on which the connector is installed. And once that's done fairly accurately, we skidding the connector over, and then we activate it and pressure test it to ensure that it's a successful installation. And then we repeat this on the opposite side for the second connector, and that kind of completed that operation. So here is some pictures from the operation on the right-hand side there, and from the testing, the SIT prior to installation. Overboarding the SSIV, and on the bottom left, you can see how the two pipes were actually, the spool on the right, on the left, and the pipe on the right, how well they were aligned by the system before we then skid the connector over and activated it. So those were the two example case studies that I was going to show. This is just the slides. See, we have done about 30 similar operations to date, and deliver this kind of installation system about 20 operators as of today. And we are capable of doing this kind of operation, I would say, very reliably, based on the experience we have, which is a cost-effective way to extend the life of many pipelines today. So, and also help with the safety and the utilization of existing infrastructure. I just added one slide. I had quite a lot of slides, so I wasn't sure how well I would be able to go through everything, but I haven't provided a storyboard for this one, but I think this is it's a similar concept where we are on very small bore tubing. We are doing the same operation, cutting, installing connectors on either side, and repairing pipe or tubing, hydraulic tubing inside UTA. This is what is shown here. This is a very interesting project, and we're also doing similar on Christmas trees, manifold, typically where there are hydraulic tubing or valves that are failing, so we can bypass the valves, install new valves. So this cut and replace technology is also applicable to a lot of the subsea structures, and avoiding to pull an UTA, for instance, like this, or a Christmas tree, is, I would say, is a big saving in many instances. So that's something we are working quite a bit on at the moment, and we think is a great potential for significant cost savings. Also, I mentioned in the start the Baltic pipeline, which was sabotaged by an anchor drag. It seems on purpose, although we haven't seen so much officially about that. But there was a vessel going back and forth numerous times, also cutting a cable at the same time. So we are pretty sure that was a sabotage, but that was repaired from us earlier this year. So here you see the Morgreb connector being installed, or have been installed on the lower right corner. So the Baltic pipeline is back up and running again after that incident, you could say. And that's the slides I had to show you. Hopefully that gave you some impression of what kind of operations we are doing.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Isdal. Do we have any questions for him?
What's the typical duration from start to finish of the repair, typically on the 2 case studies you gave us?
You mean on the project or offshore operation?
On the offshore.
Yeah, it depends a lot. For the riser repair that I show you was obviously quite a long campaign. So I wouldn't say maybe that was, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe more, maybe 3 weeks. I don't remember actually. I was having a holiday and watching the whole operation live, so I should know. It seemed long at the time, but a couple of weeks. But what we see, for instance, the SSRV installation that I just showed you, that was actually happening just before Christmas, and it was Technip FMC that had a vessel, and there were 2 campaigns ongoing. And both crews wanted to get home for Christmas. So I know they worked a little bit on this and a little bit on the other one because they were fighting on operation time. So, but that was obviously a shorter campaign. But it depends a lot. This was deepwater operation. Obviously, deployment and retrieval of tools take a while. But a week to 2 weeks. I would say typically duration, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice. All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.